to the our sport news channel. It's TVN, and during the weekend, of course, we are going to stadiums, to many places, many cities in Poland. Awesome, I think, work for me and for many of my mates from our company.
Cool. So you work 7 days a week then?
Yeah, sometimes I work 7 days a week. Sometimes I work 5 days.
It's interesting because sometimes we in our busy schedules of the racing, and we're here, there, and everywhere, and racing in a Grand Prix on Saturday night, and then fly to Poland on Sunday. And quite often I see guys like Gabrielle and their television crews that are on the airplanes with us early in the morning, catching the flights to the next place, and they're doing the same thing that we are. So it's a kind of a vicious world, It's awful.
Sometimes we work like Leo, Greg, because we are going to, for example, on Friday or Thursday to practice before the Speedway Grand Prix. On Saturday we have a competition. On Sunday the Polish League, of course. So sometimes about 1,000 or 2,000 kilometers from one place to the second place. And for example, on Monday we have to come back to our office, to our company here in Warsaw. Yeah, so sometimes a few days when we are in long journey.
How does that work? Do you have a family?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a family too.
Family.
Yeah. You have a wife?
Yeah, I have a wife. Yeah, she is a lawyer, and she supports me the most. My job, I can rely on her. And I have a daughter, Amelia, 4 years old. She wants to be a journalist. She wants to be a journalist, so it's very nice.
Can you tell that already?
Almost. Yeah.
She has her own YouTube channel.
Yeah, almost. Maybe in the future. She was at national stage, more so at practice before SGP and during the Speedway competition in Toruń and Moto Arena. So she said in Toruń, she said, "Dad, it's a terrible noise. We have to go to home." So
Good girl.
He's not ready, I think, yet, but maybe in the future.
You have to give
2 years and she will be fine.
give her some time.
Yeah.
So and your wife is a lawyer. That's good to have.
Yeah. Good to have. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes she come back to house and say something to me I don't understand. I ask him what do you say to me, because this is like language. It's not English. It's not I don't know, French. It's law language, like the special words, special idioms. So sometimes it's hard to understand, but her language. But of course, like you said, it's good to have a wife, lawyer wife. So
what is your background? How did you end up in your profession as a journalist?
It's a very interesting story, I think, because as Greg said, I come from Krosno. It's a not big city in the southeast of Poland, 60 kilometers from Rzeszów. That region is called Podkarpacie. Beautiful landscapes, amazing mountains, and good, honest, hardworking people. And
like a lot of Poland, right?
And my father took me to the stadium in Krosno, I think, for the first time. And he supported football players. So the first was the football, and the second was the speedway, because my neighbors love speedway, because Hungarian riders, they were sleeping in their house. Kovacs brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Were local stars in Krosno from Hungary at that time. So it was the beginning of the sport.
How old were you then?
I think 11 or 12 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
It was in early 90s. So I attended football games, speedway competitions, and took place at stadium in Krosno in every weekend. Sunday 11 o'clock was a soccer, and 4 or 5 p.m. was a speedway event. And so it was a short break to eat dinner, to do homework, and after that we stood in the queue for 2 hours. 2 hours to buy tickets for speedway competition.
Wow.
For 2 hours.
Yeah, so sometimes for example, we find a hole in the fence. Because yes, we like to go without the tickets to support our idols on the pitch or on the bikes. And later, after my school in Krosno, I moved to Rzeszów. I've studied their organization and management, and I tried to work as a journalist in newspaper in Rzeszów. So I tried to write, the article. After that, in 2006, I've moved to Warsaw. I can work here where I am now.
Yeah, that's pretty fun though, huh?
Yes, but I have one special story, if I can.
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
About my childhood in Krosno, because the story is about my father. Because during the inspection, the control on the road, the policeman looked at documents, my father, and asked, "Are you from?" Because we had one rider, speedway rider, in Krosno. His name was Waliszko, like me and my father, of course.
Okay.
That this policeman looked at documents and asked, "Are you from the family of Zdzisław Waliszko, the speedway rider?" And my father, he said, "Yeah, he's my cousin, of course." Policeman said, "Oops, I apologize. Wish you well driving. Thank you very much." Of course, he wasn't this cousin of my father, but
You never know. Maybe he was.
Do you remember the first time when you interviewed Greg?
First time interview with Greg. Oh my God.
Oh, this is good. That was good stuff.
Yeah, good question. I think it was maybe. No, it was maybe in about 10 or 12 years ago, as a journalist in newspaper in Rzeszów, I think maybe.
Really?
And when Greg's team came to Rzeszów at the speedway event, maybe, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was maybe Włókniarz Częstochowa, Greg. It was.
If you say in that time period, yeah, that would be about right. Yeah, just
2006 or something like that. I don't.
Maybe Częstochowa was a little bit later, but in that case, it could have been. Let me see. 6.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Wrocław. So I don't remember.
I think I was just finished with Wrocław by about that time, so I could have been either in Gdansk or I could have been. No, maybe it was Częstochowa. 2006. Really back. Yeah, you're testing me now.
So of course, but during in the TV, of course, in MC Plus, we first interview with Greg, I think, was about 5 years ago, because we are broadcasting from Science, I think, 2013. So, yeah, it was 2013, I think, somewhere in Polish Extraliga, Polish cities in the pits. and of course during the SGP series. And after that, in 2014, in Greg House in Sweden was a long, very nice interview with Jenny, with your boys, of course, and
Yeah, that was cool.
So you guys have a history.
You guys did. Yeah, for sure. We go back some years, and the cool part for me too is meeting someone like Gabrielle. You know, we talk with lots of journalists, and many times you're not really sure which ones are going to tell the story that you give them, or if they're going to twist the words around a little bit, and suddenly what you said is not what is actually portrayed in the interview every single time. So you're always careful about how much you say to the reporters, and some of the reporters are so clever in how they word their questions. But Gabrielle,
I don't know you remember.
Sorry?
Because it was a very hard time for you, because it was after you're injured in Gorzów, and before I think the last two tournaments in Stockholm and Torun, because
that's right.
It was the season when you were the world champion, of course, 2014, yeah?
That's right, exactly. But what I was going to say is, like, with Gabrielle, I always said, you know, just the respect was always good with him, because if I told him a story, what I thought about what I did, he always made the interview or the you know, whatever he was writing or making the story about was always 100% correct in what I said. He never changed the story to be something different. And that, as an athlete, for me, is so respectful.
I learn English, my French and Italian all the time, you know, to improve my all the time.
It's really good, and you develop a lot of respect for the people you talk to. So if Gabrielle wants to speak to me, I always stop to speak to him, because I know that he is going to tell the same story that I tell, and that's what I like. Anyway,
when you see my microphone in the pit, for example, you know that you have to come to me, yeah?
Yeah. I can't walk away from him, otherwise I might be in trouble.
Exactly.
That is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Gab, did you play any sports in school?
Yeah, of course I did many sports, you know, because I wanted to be a sportsman during my childhood. In my school in Krosno, I played football, like, of course, American, you say the soccer, yeah, of course, football and volleyball too, basketball, tennis, during the winter skiing, of course, riding bicycle, so many sports I tried, but my health was not enough good, so I tried to say and to write about the sport, but not to play.
Gotcha.
So I remember my first attempt to write an article report from sport event was of course Speedway.
But it's got a lot of history for having Speedway there too. And
Wow, is it hard
Gabrielle
to
got to
ride
see
in it
that. So.
when it's moisture like that?
Well, I think they control it pretty good. It stays more moist. Sometimes they don't need to keep as much water in the material because of the sea being close. So it's not so wet, but it's a clay material there, so it can be quite sticky if they get too much water in it. And for a speedway bike, if it gets too sticky, it's almost impossible to ride. So, but they're pretty good. They know how to work the track and make it right.
Greg, they called the event commotion by the ocean.
The commotion by the ocean. That's right. So that was growing up. You know, that track normally used to race on Tuesday nights for Speedway when I was a kid, and that was always Tuesdays was the commotion by the ocean, and then Wednesday nights we had San Bernardino Speedway, and that was IMS, and they called it the only reason for Wednesday nights. And then I don't remember what Ascot was at that time, but it was the South Bay. But anyway, the commotion by the ocean could be anything.
That's cool.
So that was.
I was. It was in 2014, Greg, when I was in Poland, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. You can.
Yeah, and I saw that it's really popular in Poland. There was a lot of people on the arena. So.
Yeah. What the city? Where were you?
He came to Torrent for the last Grand Prix when I won.
Arena. Yeah.
So it's really huge there, and it's the leading league of speedway in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the league number one in the world. I think the best riders, the best salaries, the most the many people at the stadiums. For example, Motor Arena is one of the best stadiums to racing. I think, Greg, you can say like that the Motor Arena, the track on the Motor Arena is very good, very good for you riders to race, catch up, for example.
Exactly. I think I've quoted it to you, and I still quote it today, that I think that the track in Torrent is the best track in Speedway today for many reasons. Obviously, the stadium itself is just a Speedway arena that looks like a football arena from the outside, but when you come inside, you just have this ultimate stage of a dirt track that's not so big, but it's the perfect shape, it's the perfect size. You have racing lines, 3, 4, 5 different racing lines, and if you're Darcy Ward, you have 10 racing lines. So it's the place is you saw it yourself, Stefan. I mean, and it really is a mecca for Speedway, and any club in the world that wants to make a new track, they could take a couple of good pieces of advice from Torrent Speedway.
Yeah. If you are Darcy Ward or Thomas Golub, because I have to say about our legend, because he was a rider in touring, of course, too, like you, Greg.
That's right.
Of course, now we know that Thomas he flew to China to try a new treatment, try to acupuncture medicine. So we keep fingers crossed and hope he will win the most important race in his life, of course, because he's our legend, I think, for Polish fans and the Speedway world.
This was one question I had for you. It's funny that you brought this up, because I had a question to ask you about Thomas, and if you had any more. We've been reading in the internet some things about him, and every once in a while I get some information about from his manager, Tomasz Kaczynski, but I would like to hear from you. Yeah, it's native.
Yeah, I spoke with Thomas Golub a few days ago, of course, by the mobile phone, and before the flight to China, and he said that he's looking for a new possibilities, new roads to be in better shape, of course. Because the pain, the very big problem is the pain, that his body, of course. So maybe he has to looking for another solutions. Maybe the acupuncture in China will bring some new solutions.
For sure, and this is good news, and it's positive to hear that he's pursuing some other treatments. And I me personally, wish so much for that guy, as much as with Darcy too. But like, I've been racing with Thomas for so many years, and for me, he is still the most talented, amazing Speedway rider to date. Every time he's on the track, I love to watch him, because it's like watching, it's like dancing on the motorcycle in such a way that he's so smooth, and it's elegant, and it's textbook motorcycle speedway racing to a T. the guy's unreal. I can talk about him all day long. And I was a fierce competitor with him for many years, but I learned so much by watching him and tried to apply so many things to my own racing that he does, even though we're two completely different people altogether.
I was preparing the material, documentary about you from California, and I some, the shots from GP series, you and American riders, Billy Hamel, for example, and every time competitions there were Thomas Golob, many years, yes, and many hits, many winning, of course. Most popular, the icons, the World Speedway. Of course, you, Greg, Tony Rickardson, Thomas Golob, Hans Nielsen, of course, Nicky Pedersen. And now we have something like change. I think the role changed. The riders, the new generation, they became in the SGP series, for example. But you come back to SGP series,
Yeah, that's right. And you can look. I mean, obviously, this is the kind of thing that you're grateful that you've had a good run and that an accident has happened. So I never wanted to be given a place in the Grand Prix, because I felt if I have to be given a wild card, I didn't earn my position. I didn't earn a place in the World Championship. And here I come with an injury that took me out halfway through the season. And I think, oh gosh, I've always said to myself I wouldn't race the Grand Prix if I took a wild card spot. And now I feel like a hypocrite. But I guess an injury is the only reason I can let that slide. But so if you talk about Speedway in Poland, for instance,